Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a fantasy adventure from 2021 titled, The Green Knight. While most people are familiar with King Arthur's legend, they are less familiar with the story of his nephew Gaiwain. It's Christmas Day and 𝒍𝒊𝒌𝒆 wakes up her lover, Sir Gaiwain, and invites him to join her for Christmas service at church. Although he initially declines, he eventually changes his mind and agrees to go with her, and the two of them enter a crowded rural church together. When he comes back, he realizes that his mother isn't getting ready to accompany him as he is getting prepared to go to a feast on Christmas Day. She tells Gaiwain that he should go there alone because she won't be attending the feast this year. Gaiwain attends the Christmas feast at the castle's round table, which is being hosted by King Arthur and his wife Queen Guinevere, while his mother walks to the tower to meet with other women. Gaiwain informs the king that his mother is ill and is unable to attend. Arthur instructs him to take a seat next to him. Gaiwain hesitates because he feels it is not his place to sit next to the king, but Arthur emphasizes the value of having a solid relationship with blood family. Furthermore, Arthur expresses regret for not meeting Gaiwain sooner. As the feast continues, Arthur asks Gaiwain to tell a tale from his past experiences so that they can get to know one another better. Gaiwain claims he doesn't have a life story to tell, but Guinevere responds that he does not have one, yet. Gaiwain's mother is seen in the tower executing a rite with the other witches, creating a sprout out of the ashes of a letter, while the feast is still going on. A tall man who resembles a tree suddenly enters the castle on a horse and identifies himself as the Green Knight. He gives Arthur a letter, which Guinevere reads aloud with a strange voice as if she was possessed. The letter invites the king to a game where he sends one of his knights to combat the Green Knight. If the knight succeeds, he will be awarded honor and wealth, but he will also have to meet the Green Knight again precisely 1 year after the fight to incur the same injuries that he causes the Green Knight. After finishing the letter, the queen faints and it burns to ashes. Arthur asks his knights if any of them want to battle the Green Knight, but only Gaiwain volunteers, so Arthur gives him a sword called the Excalibur and tells him that it's just a game. Surprisingly, the Green Knight drops his axe. As the axe touches the ground, green plants begin to emerge from the ground. Gaiwain sees this as an opening and he quickly beheads the Green Knight. Silence envelopes the castle as everyone looks forward to the next course of action. Contrary to what everyone believes, this doesn't kill him. Instead, the Green Knight simply stands up, grabs his head, and tells Gaiwain that he'll be waiting for him in the Green Church in a year. Everyone praises Gaiwain for his bravery as the Green Knight departs the castle, leaving his axe behind. Meanwhile, Gaiwain seems uninterested, remaining silent as he gives the Excalibur to Arthur and mulls over his fate with the Green Knight. In bed, 𝒍𝒊𝒌𝒆 remarks on how well-known Gaiwain has become since his battle with the Green Knight, and wonders why he doesn't appear to be happy about it. After a night of drinking, Gaiwain returns home and is surprised to find King Arthur in his house chatting with his mother. Arthur questions Gaiwain about his plans to rematch the Green Knight this Christmas, but Gaiwain believes it's all a sham and doesn't believe the Green Knight will be waiting for him at the Green Chapel. Arthur explains to him that even if it is only a game, it is still not over, so he encourages Gaiwain to find the Green Church and have his momentous meeting there. Hearing the king speak, Gaiwain begins to believe he is heading to his doom. Arthur and Guinevere pray for Gaiwain's safety and success with the church as he prepares for his journey. Before he leaves, his mother gives him a girdle made by her other witches that will protect him whenever he wears it. 𝒍𝒊𝒌𝒆 attempts to persuade Gaiwain not to go and stay with her to start a family, but he thinks it is his responsibility to depart. He ultimately embarks on the quest on his own. On the first night of the journey, he finds 𝒍𝒊𝒌𝒆's bell in his luggage, which makes him think of the time she asked him to make her his wife, but he declined to answer. He wears it around his neck to remind himself of her. The next day, he walks across a field full of dead bodies, which appears to be the aftermath of a war. He encounters a scavenger there who tells him stories about the combat that took place there which involved his brother. Gaiwain asks the scavenger if he knows where the Green Church is, and the scavenger says he does before directing him to follow a stream. Gaiwain expresses his gratitude by handing him a coin before proceeding to the stream. When Gaiwain gets to the creek, he stops to let his horse drink, but as soon as he continues on his way, he is surrounded by robbers. When the scavenger arrives, he admits that he directed him there as part of their plan. The scavenger puts on his green girdle and admits there was no Green Chapel. Gaiwain is restrained by the robbers while they steal his possessions. The scavenger plays with the green axe before mounting his horse and riding out. Gaiwain imagines himself dying alone in the woods once they've left. He crawls to his sword, which the robbers left behind, refusing to accept this as his fate, and cuts the cords around his wrist with the sword. As night falls, he becomes lost in the woods while searching for the thieves. Eventually, he comes across an abandoned cottage. When he hears activity upstairs, he investigates but finds only an empty bed. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 finds comfort in the filthy bed and falls asleep. Soon after, a woman questions his presence in her bed. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 stands up in shock and offers the woman an apology. She stops him as he turns to leave and asks if her father sent him. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 emphasizes that he accidentally entered her hut and that he wants to leave. He admits to having lost his way, and as she approaches him with caution, she informs him that she too has lost something. She calls herself Winifred and leads the man to a nearby spring. She requests that he retrieve her head while pointing to the water. Winifred insists that her head is not on her neck despite 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕's confusion and assertion that it is. According to Winifred, a lord attempted to decapitate her when she rebuffed his advances. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 asks Winifred what he'll get in return, which upsets her. He dives into the water and begins to look, expecting nothing in return. He hears Winifred and King Arthur appealing to him as a sudden crimson glow appears. Soon after, he finds the skull and takes it. Instead of Winifred, he discovers a fox waiting for him when he returns. Winifred's skeletal body is on the bed as 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 enters the cabin with the skull. The skull changes back into Winifred's head with her flesh, as he stares at it. When Winifred's head awakens, it alerts him that he is familiar with the Green Knight. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 carefully reunites Winifred's body with her head, which transforms back into a skull. After covering a considerable distance on foot, he seeks refuge in a cave and attempts to start a fire. When he sees the fox approaching the cave, he throws a rock at it to scare it away. But when the fox comes back, 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 lets it in. The fox joins him while he sleeps and travels with him the following day. Later, he eats some mushrooms out of desperation and gives some to the fox. However, he quickly vomits the mushrooms and has hallucinations of green moss on his palm. As a storm approaches, he hears thunder and notices a sinister figure in the distance. As he travels on with the fox, 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 notices a giant coming out from behind a hill. More giants are seen strolling as he ascends the hill. He calls to them and requests to be carried by a giant. The fox growls as the giant reaches out to touch 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 continues on the other side of the giant's path. It begins to rain after midnight, and 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 collapses from exhaustion. The fox encourages him to keep going, and they eventually arrive at a castle nearby. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 enters the castle and passes out after knocking on the doors. As he awakens the next morning, the Lord is seated next to him. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 is recognized by the Lord, who informs him that he still has a few days to get to the Green Chapel. He is introduced to the Lord's lady, who resembles 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒕. As they converse, they inform 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 how well known he is in their part of town. The Lord tells him that the Green Chapel is less than a day's journey away, and invites him to stay and rest until Christmas morning. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 wanders around the house after accepting the offer, staring at their book collection. The lady discovers him and informs him that she has read all of the books and even contributed to a few of them. She hands him a book and requests a kiss in return as a token of her gratitude. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 reluctantly kisses her on the cheek. She then insists on portraying him in a painting. The lady uses a lighting technique to create an upside-down portrait of him while he is in the other room. The lady observes 𝒍𝒊𝒏𝒕's bell hanging around his neck as he gazes at the image. When the lady inquires if it is a sign of love, he objects. She removes the bell by snapping the cord from his neck. Later, the Lord gives him a deer that he hunted as a gift. The Lord guarantees that he will go hunting in the forest every day and give 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 the finest of what he harvests that evening. He requests that 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 give him everything he receives from his castle in return. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 ponders what he might possibly gain from the castle that the Lord doesn't already own. The lady then asks 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 why the Green Knight is green, to which 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 replies that it could be because he is not from Earth. The lady claims that green symbolizes vitality, but 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 counters that it also represents decay. The lady draws attention to how people have been destroying nature in order to further their influence while celebrating its color in their linens. However, despite their best efforts, nature's greenery always manages to reappear. The green will always exist and triumph over all of humanity's creations and accomplishments, even after they pass away. The Lord questions 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 about the expedition's objectives. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 explains that he is adamant about achieving the honor of becoming a true knight. In the morning, 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 awakens to find the lady watching. She strokes him and asks why he didn't come to her room at night. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕 acknowledges that he wanted to but that he couldn't. After he emphasizes that it isn't right, the lady questions him about his belief in magic. She hands him a green girdle that looks identical to the one his mother fashioned. She claims that it is stitched with enchantments to protect whoever is wearing it. She then lies with him on the bed and assures him that as long as he is wearing it, no harm will come to him. As she gives him pleasure, she instructs him to take the girdle off her. He removes the girdle from her waist after finishing. Before leaving, the lady informs him that he is not a knight. Carrying the green axe, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 rushes from the castle. When the Lord comes upon him in the jungle, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 informs him that he's leaving. He is halted by the Lord, who also reminds him that �𝒊𝒌𝒆 needs to provide something. In response to the lady's advances, he kisses �𝒊𝒌𝒆. The Lord reveals that he has captured the fox and then releases it before departing. �𝒊𝒌𝒆 and the fox arrive at a misty location illuminated by an orange glow. He makes his way toward a creek, but the fox blocks his path and growls. The fox begins to speak, shocking �𝒊𝒌𝒆, telling him that if he continues on his path, he will die. The fox claims that the Green Knight is more dangerous than any wild animal and that �𝒊𝒌𝒆 should not feel ashamed for running away. The fox begs �𝒊𝒌𝒆 to go back home, but �𝒊𝒌𝒆 swings his axe and the fox flees, leaving him. �𝒊𝒌𝒆 travels by himself along the stream in a boat till he comes to the deserted church. After discovering the Green Knight dozing off at the altar within, he sets the axe down and waits. On Christmas morning, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 waits all through the night for the Green Knight to awaken. The Green Knight pulls out his axe and asks �𝒊𝒌𝒆 if he came to allow him to return the exact blow that he delivered to him the year before. Although �𝒊𝒌𝒆 pauses, he admits that he has. He agrees to kneel in order for the Green Knight to finish their game. As the Green Knight raises his axe, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 trembles. He admits to his fear and asks for some time to regain his courage. Once the Green Knight lifts his axe, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 declares that he is prepared but still withdraws. When he inquires about the continuation of their game, the Green Knight responds that this is the end. The Green Knight raises his axe as �𝒊𝒌𝒆 kneels down a third time. He quickly flees in terror while apologizing to the Green Knight. He runs outside and is greeted by his horse. He hops on and begins riding home. His mother washes him while he wears the girdle he took from the lady. When 𝒂𝒊 comes to see him, he makes love to her. Soon after, the sick King Arthur knights �𝒊𝒌𝒆 and gives him Excalibur. King Arthur dies soon after, and �𝒊𝒌𝒆 is proclaimed king because he is the only male heir. When �𝒂𝒊 gives birth to �𝒊𝒌𝒆's son, he has his knights take the child away from her. They leave money for 𝒂𝒂𝒊, who is desperately trying to find her child. Years later, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 marries a noblewoman. On the night of their wedding, as the new queen tries to take off his green girdle, he stops her. Even after sharing a bed with his new bride, �𝒊𝒌𝒆 still wears the girdle. As the years pass, �𝒊𝒌𝒆's kingdom is drawn into a conflict in which �𝒊𝒌𝒆's grown-up son, a knight, perishes from his wounds. �𝒊𝒌𝒆 mournfully returns to his realm, but his subjects now despise him. He sees 𝒂𝒂𝒊 amid the crowd, gently lamenting the loss of her son. Later, the new queen gives birth to another child for �𝒊𝒌𝒆, while the battle outside their castle rages on. �𝒊𝒌𝒆 and his family sit by their throne while their foes rage outside their gates knowing that their kingdom is losing. �𝒊𝒌𝒆 finally removes his clothing to reveal his girdle, but as he does so, his head slides off his neck. He unexpectedly returns to the chapel. He stops the Green Knight from raising the axe once more and removes the girdle from his waist and informs the Green Knight that he is ready after realizing the consequences of his cowardice. As the Green Knight strokes his face, he refers to him as a brave knight, before chopping off his head. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more videos.